Right. Welcome to episode 3 of Troutwood Live. I am Gene Natali with Troutwood. My partner Jeff Davidek on the bottom right, and then a good friend and guest today, Andrew Kicinski. Welcome to Troutwood Live.
Thank you very much for having me.
So Drew is with PPG, and Drew, in advance of you being our guest today, and I'm extremely excited. I intentionally put this red train behind me because it is December 16th. And for much of my youth, we would visit the PPG Winter Garden. So to help our student audience know where you work every day, you work above the PPG Winter Garden.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone has ever been downtown, especially this time of year where the ice rink is, the giant glass building, that's where you can find me most days. Every single day of the year.
It is one of the most iconic and unique buildings in Pittsburgh. I'm going to jump into a screen share, and we are going to very briefly go through a presentation, and then Drew is going to have a ton of fun telling you more about PPG, and I know from has some just terrific stories in line for our student audience. The finance term that we are going to discuss and learn about today, and I have 2 challenge questions for our student audience, is share. And by share, I mean share in association with buying a publicly traded company. Our guest, Andrew Kicinski with PPG, and our takeaway: financial wellness equals financial literacy. In the classroom, financial literacy is taught, and it's taught so that we can have financial wellness in the workplace. So what is a share? And I encourage our student audience to hop on the Troutwood map, if they can, with another browser. What is a share? It's a single unit of ownership in a publicly traded company, mutual fund, or ETF. My challenge question, I have the YouTube chat up on my laptop beside me, is who can be the first student to put it in the chat? What would it cost today to buy 1 share of PPG? If I wanted to buy 1 share of PPG, what would it cost? And while students are looking that up, Drew, I'm going to throw a fun fact at you that I did not know from our YouTube chat. From one of our students, there are 19,750 pieces of glass in the Pittsburgh PPG building.
I did not know that.
So get ready for the questions coming your way.
Perfect. I'm scared now.
So here's the challenge question. We may have a Troutwood t-shirt on the line for whoever gets in that chat box and answers it first. How much does 1 share of PPG cost today? And our colleague Jay Morrison is in that chat, keeping an eye on whoever gets the price right. Without further ado, I'm going to now turn the presentation over to Andrew Kicinski, who's going to tell us about PPG.
Thank you again, Gene, for having me today, and I really appreciate it very much to just take a couple minutes to talk to everybody that's out there. As mentioned, my name's Andrew Kicinski. I work at PPG. I've been there for about 12 years, really just kind of in a similar role. But before I get to that, maybe level set here. And PPG, what do we do there? What is our purpose? Well, as you can see on the screen there, we protect and beautify the world. That's our tagline. It's very fancy, but you know what? It's pretty simple in what we do. So we coat things, and we find whatever we can, and we put a coating on it. And it's really similar to you putting a coat on before going out this time of year. You put it on, it protects you from the elements. It keeps you warm. It lets you be outside for a lot longer than you would if you didn't have a coat on. So that's what we do. And PPG is a big organization. We have 47,000 employees. We're all around the world, because this is not just 1 or 2 things that need coated. These are thousands and thousands of different things for everybody around the world.
Drew, how many of those 47,000 are here in Pittsburgh in those big glass buildings?
Oh, and there's not many actually in the big glass building. So, in the U.S. we have about 20 or 25,000 people just in the U.S. alone. So a small portion of those are really in the Pittsburgh area, downtown. But yeah, that's the other thing. There's not even half of our employees in the U.S. There's more people probably abroad, than there are even in the United States here.
Well, it's fun to think of that being based right here in Pittsburgh, that kind of outreach.
Yeah, that's it is. It's crazy. And actually maybe it's relevant. We actually have a plant in Wuhan. So there were people buzzing all around PPG with full knowledge about the coronavirus even before it came to the US. So yeah, that's just.
Well, now I have to ask, did your plant in Wuhan, did it stay open through everything?
It was shut down for a period of time, but then they got back up online and back at it. And it was probably around the same time that things were just hitting here. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's a fun fact. That's just kind of a fact. So
very interesting.
Yeah, but we've been around for way over 100 years, and that last purple text, I won't dwell on it, but we sell a lot of stuff, and that stuff. I'll talk a little bit about what we sell and how we do it. So I think on the next one there, Gene, there's a whole bunch of different things that we sell. So I'll start on the top left there. So the PPG paint store, we sell paint. So if you've been to the store, if you find a can of paint, there's a lot of paint that we make. If you've been down to where the Penguins play, the PPG Paints Arena, that's our little bit of advertising to try to sell this. So Home Depot, Walmart, any type of store where you go in and you can pick up a can of paint, chances are pretty good that we're going to try to sell it to you to cover your walls or whatever it might be. But there's a lot more than just paint to put on walls that we do. So in the top middle there, that's our aerospace division. So there's a lot of different things that we do there. So the young lady there's looking out the window. We make coatings for the glass to keep people safe from the sun's rays that are in there. We make cleaners to scrape bug guts off the windows. And we've come up with other technologies. One of them is, I have an eggplant, and it seems silly, but there's actually technology in eggplants. So if you find an eggplant, if you have a garden, if you would grow an eggplant in the middle of the summer on the hottest day, even though an eggplant is dark purple, it stays cool to your touch. And it's because eggplants have technology built into them. And the PPG scientists figured out how an eggplant stays cool in the summertime. So when we paint airplanes with some of the technology coatings, technologies that we use, the inside of the airplanes, they actually reflect the heat and they keep the people inside cool. On the top,
Drew, I'm going to have to throw a challenge question out to our YouTube audience. When you say eggplant, I'm going to ask our students to throw in the chat, what airplane looks like an eggplant? What airplane uses that color? It's a very famous airline. And I loved the first time you told me that story.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure they're a customer too. So,
so expand upon that, because that, to me, this is fascinating. You were holding an eggplant.
Yep.
And your scientists, you went from talking about paint to talking about the science of eggplants.
Yeah.
And one of the world's largest airlines, listening to these scientists and making a very big decision.
Yeah, and that's exactly what people at PPG try to do. They try to take technologies, things that we can figure out, things that we discover, and figure out practical applications to it to make the world around you, me, all of us just a little bit a little bit better.
Drew, our audience got it. Southwest is in the chat box. A couple of our students very quickly answered that.
Yeah. But no, so yeah, not only do we paint planes, but we paint cars too. In the top right, just about every single make of car that you see out on the road, There's paint on the exterior, but there's also paint and there's coatings on the frames to make them durable, to make them last longer, to make them not rust. There's all kinds of things that we do that for the wheels, for the tires. There's coatings on all of those things, and even more recently, if for those of you that like Teslas, not only do we paint the cars, but the Teslas are loaded up with batteries. We make all kinds of coating technologies that go into batteries. That's one of those things. I pulled this out of my cordless vacuum. There's coatings in the batteries in here to make it hold a charge, to make it last longer. It's the same thing with the woman on the bottom left down there. Your cell phone. There's so much that's in here that's not only the battery that has a coating on it, but it's the exterior of it. What makes it not resist fingerprints? What makes it not smash when you drop it? There's all kinds of different coatings that go onto it.
So, Drew, so the team at Troutwood knows that I am kind of infatuated with Tesla, and I'm on the waiting list for the Tesla Cybertruck. Do you have any sway in the colors that I can get in my Cybertruck?
I sadly I don't think I do, Gene, but I can see what I can come up with, especially if you're looking for some type of custom color or something. if you want an eggplant colored Cybertruck, I will see what I can do for you.
Well, that would be exciting.
Don't hold your breath. And then the last picture there too, just as it relates to coatings, is in addition to your phone, in addition to your car, there's all kinds of things that touch your lives. The picture there, it's tough to make out, but there's a small can that's sitting in the corner, but that's our packaging coating business. So we do all kinds of things. So, this bag of Lay's, all of the color that's on the outside, the writing, it's all coating. And it's not just like visual stuff, because if you open up this bag of Lay's, if you have any bag of chips in your house, you take a look at the inside, there's coatings in the inside. There's coatings to make sure that your potato chips don't get mushy, your tortilla chips stay crunchy, your goldfish just stay cheesy. All those things. It's these simple things in life. They're actually pretty complex if you sit down and you start just breaking them all apart. But there's coatings in everything that you do. So that's a little bit of what we do. So, maybe a little bit of how we do it. So on the next slide, there's 47,000 people. I think you've gotten a sense already that we don't just all make paint. There's not 47,000 people stirring paint cans and putting those off the lines. There are a whole host of different things and opportunities within this company of 47,000. We have scientists, we have engineers, we have store employees that stock shelves, we have designers that look for color trends. There's color engineers that try to figure out which colors work on what material, because not everything always works. There's accountants, there's tax people, I have a list here because I can't even keep track of them all. But there's countless amounts, and everybody working remote, IT, countless IT people working in our company. But yeah, and this is all over the world. One of the additional things is really the finance team, and that's where I fall. And this is interesting. So last week we had BNY Mellon as a guest, and one of the students said, what's your most popular career that you're hiring? Thinking the answer would be finance, and it was technology. Yeah. Hearing you talk is, if I'm a student in a classroom right now, and I'm interested in a company like PPG, there are a lot of paths, a lot of it. Absolutely. Yeah. And again, I don't want to try to oversell it, but science, and the research and development, trying to figure out what makes eggplants work. There's just a lot of interesting different things that you could take and apply that to.
Well, so while Drew is talking to our YouTube audience, if you go to the Troutwood map, go to the PPG fact sheet, try to find it, but click on careers and just take a look at how many careers are currently available at PPG. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know there's a lot. Yeah, there's plenty. But but as it relates to me, so I fall within the finance organization, and I'm embarrassed to say, after everything that we've been through and everything that we've looked at, I make nothing. I don't make a darn thing. I don't make paint. I don't make coatings for bags of potato chips. I don't make anything. My role within the organization and within kind of the finance group is really two things. If you have any one of your family members out there, friends, relatives, that is a retiree, they've retired, maybe they worked at a company, maybe they've worked at PPG and spent their entire career there, and they get a pension. I make sure that those people that dedicated their careers and earned a pension, I make sure that they get paid throughout retirement. That's the first part of my job. The second part of my job is
Drew. Let me just interrupt. What is a pension? Yeah. If I'm a student and I'm hearing that I get a pension, what am I getting?
Sure. So a pension, I apologize, I should have said that. So a pension. So someone that worked at PPG for 30 years, they spent their career there, they worked for 30 years, and then they retired from the company. They've earned a pension. And what that is that's basically a paycheck for the rest of their lives. So they dedicated a good chunk of their time and talent to the company. So basically they're rewarded with a monthly paycheck for the rest of their lives. And that's what it is. And that helps them, through retirement.
That's really cool. Drew, so as you kind of prefaced your role there, it's the financial security. So many of our schools that participate are through personal finance, through financial literacy, through a life skills type course. It sounds like that's what you do.
Yeah. So that's really I think the second part of what I do. So I spend a lot of time encouraging. That's really my at a broad high level. That's what the second part of my job is, encouraging. I encourage people to save. I encourage people to invest, and I encourage people to be prepared for their future. And that's, tying it back to at the beginning there, financial wellness, financial literacy. If you can understand how to do these almost, which hopefully become simple things like saving, like investing, then you can be prepared for the future and you can have that financial wellness. And, it's tough to think about, especially, you mentioned about just a quick Google and you can find information. A lot of my time is trying to encourage people to think about, not necessarily what they can do in a millisecond, but what they can do in 10 years or 20 years. And that if you start today only with a little bit, and actually, if you want to go to the next slide, Gene, that, this one here, I thought this was nice because if you start, on the left side there with just a little bit, and then it builds up over time, that you can have a pretty big pot when you get to be an older in life. And I don't know anyone that's probably content working and doing the same thing for every single day of their life. So when you're able to do this, when you're able to save, when you're able to be prepared for the future, that's going to give you options. That's going to give you the ability to retire, it's to travel, to do something else with your life. And if I can try to encourage people to do that while they're working at PPG, to save in their 401k, to save in their individual retirement account, to save anywhere really, then that's really what I do and what gets me excited.
So Drew, if you were talking to an audience of educators who teach personal finance to students, what can you share from those experiences where you're helping us as adults take these steps? Are there head starts that educators can apply in the classroom?
Man, I think quick background. I have 4 children, And I think kids are often much more intelligent about things and much quicker to pick things up than us adults. So, and I don't think, especially money items should be taboo to talk about. If it's, anything finance related, if it's a car payment, if it's, saving, if it's a bank account, if it's a credit card, it's easier to talk about these things and figure them out than trying to figure it out later on in your life.
Are there common questions that you receive from the employees or the people in your network about things like 401k or how to save?
Yeah, I think the most common question I get from a lot of people is they just don't know how to do it or where to begin. And a lot of times it's just, it's easy. Sometimes it's easier said than done, but as an employee at PPG, you have the ability to kind of check the box and have money automatically taken out of your paycheck and deposited into a savings account for you. And it's that automatic savings, I think, that makes things easier for a lot of people. So it's not a conscious item that at the end of the week, at the end of the month, whatever it is that you need to have leftover money and put that away. When it happens and that savings takes place automatically, it's almost like money that you didn't have to begin with and aren't really missing. But that's probably the biggest question is, where to begin, because people are scared of screwing it up. And we try, I try, and we try here to make it simple for people.
And I know firsthand from our many lunches how passionate you are about that conversation. When you get a new hire, so I'm gonna go back in time and I'm gonna bridge to our student audience, but maybe I'm graduating college and I'm 22 and I get a job at PPG. So to our student audience, I'm fast forwarding you a little bit. How many of those new hires, do you often see that they already have some sort of savings, or they say, Drew, I've been saving in a Roth IRA for a while, how can I enhance it? Or are most new hires taking the first step?
Yeah, so I think most new hires are taking the first step. So those people that come into the organization, they're taking the first step either on their own, or we kind of have it in place where it just happens for them. So we have roughly an 85 or 90% participation rate. So you look at, I mentioned the 20 to 25,000 employees that we have here in the U.S. A lot of those people are automatically enrolled because we've set them up to try to help them.
Automatically enrolled. That's a big word. That if I am that 22-year-old hire, what does it mean if I am automatically enrolled?
So they're automatically enrolled into saving for their future. So that
sounds pretty good.
Yeah. So it's basically you sign up, and when your paycheck comes, it's back to what I said. It's some of that money that you're probably not going to miss. It's automatically goes into an account for you, for future you, really. And it does it so there's no action that's really needed by you or me or that individual that just signed up at the company. We try to make it, as I mentioned, investing and savings can be scary for a lot of people. I don't, and it doesn't have to be. And, we just try to make it simple.
And Drew, I X'd out of the screen share only because we've got a backlog of questions for you here in the YouTube chat. So I am going to ask the first one here, and we'll just use these last 5 minutes with questions. Students would like to know, when did you first learn about investing?
So I first learned about investing. I'm a nerd. I will admit that. So I first started learning about investing back in high school. Really, I'm not really sure how I came across a book or two But just, some of those, just simple things about what people do to invest. And I think where it got interesting is just curiosity, looking at the world around you and saying, okay, your iPhone, where does it come from? Well, it's Apple. Well, how do I learn about Apple? And they're a stock. Okay, what about my Dell computer, my the Pepsi that I'm drinking? Where does that come from? How does it all work? And just that curiosity led me to, I guess, just read up on things and learn more and more. And at least for my brain, just connecting all the dots about how it works, really, about how companies work, where brands come from, and that just led me to really kind of nerd out on it, if you will, early on in high school.
Well, I think of investing as I can go to a store and buy toothpaste, or I can own the company that makes the toothpaste.
Absolutely.
Through a share, to tie in our finance term.
That's exactly right.
Drew, I have this question. If you are uncomfortable answering, don't answer. One of our students wants to know, what kind of assets do you invest in? How do you invest your 401k?
Oh, so you
can pass on that one if you would like.
No, that's okay. I think it's good. So, I mean, first and foremost, the one thing, another term that I won't, is a target date fund. So basically, there's a whole bunch of investment funds, and I know Gene had mentioned mutual fund when he was talking about shares, but basically, it's almost like a set it and forget it investment strategy. So you buy a target date fund that has a year on it. I'm sure if you Google them, you'll find lots of target date funds out there. So a whole bunch of what I invest in is just in a target date fund designed to just really invest for me until I hit retirement.
That's a great word. I'm throwing that in the chat and asking our students to help expand upon what it is, what a target date fund is. I'm going to throw another question, a very popular question. A lot of students asking, what does PPG stand for?
Oh, so PPG, if you go down to the PPG Plaza, we talked about the giant glass building at the beginning there, and 19,000 glass pieces that make it up. I'm not really sure. There's a giant placard there that says it's the Pittsburgh Plate and Glass Company. So that was PPG. I don't know when we dropped really it is, but PPG nowadays just really doesn't mean anything. It's just PPG. Our logo, our name, it's all just PPG. But it stems back to when the company was formed, and we don't even make glass anymore. That's probably part of it too.
Drew, I love this next question, and I love the analogy. Warren Buffett's first investment was Citibank. What was your first investment?
My first investment, my first investment that I at least remember. Well, I will say this: I think it went to zero. So I am not a Warren Buffett. I will. For maybe, I don't know, the teachers or the older, the adults that are on the line. I first opened a trading account right when the .com bubble burst. So I took all of my hard-earned money, saved money, invested it into technology companies, and then they all went really down to nothing. So, there were a bunch, but
that feeds to another question.
Go ahead.
Another question: what do you do if you make a mistake with your first investment? Two of our students have asked that question. What do you do if you make a mistake? This will be our final question as we knock up on our time together.
Here I am. I mean, as I mentioned, I started with several thousands of dollars in a trading account years ago, and I think I cashed out with probably $135 of the trading account that I started with. So it didn't go well. It went very, very poorly for me. But you know what? You just kind of start over and keep at it, and that's really what it is. You kind of have to. You just kind of have to push through.
if you make a mistake, stick with it. Push through and stick with it.
That's it. It happens to the best of us. So you got to persevere. Don't give up, and just keep going. Yeah.
Drew, on behalf of everyone watching, our students, our educators on Troutwood, I just want to say thank you. It's a pleasure knowing you. It is a just a privilege knowing your passion for financial literacy, financial wellness. And just by the number of questions we got, I know you sparked some young minds today.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. And Mr. Natali, I really appreciate it too, because I know this, everything that you're doing here is a passion of yours as well. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you to everyone for tuning in to Troutwood Live. We'll see you next time.